Captain's Log Supplemental. Admiral Thomas Henry, who has worked closely with Nora Sati in the past, has arrived to observe the hearings.
Tell me, Captain, have you completely recovered from your experience with the Borg?
Yes, I have completely recovered.
After physically recovering from being violated and changed by the Borg, Captain Picard's new self-understanding about his trauma is put to the test. Has he fully recovered or not? I am reminded of a lyric from The Next Right Thing from Frozen 2, of all films, in which Anna, dealing with loss, says, "I won't look too far ahead. It's too much for me to take, but break it down to this next breath, this next step, this next choice is one that I can make. So I'll walk through this night, stumbling blindly toward the light, and do the next right thing. And with it done, what comes then? When it's clear that everything will never be the same again, then I'll make the choice to hear that voice and do the next right thing." In the episode I, Borg, the Enterprise crew encounters an injured Borg adolescent and decides to help him.
Awaiting, prepare to return to the ship.
Captain, we can't leave him here. He won't survive.
I think the captain understands that.
I don't.
Security measures must be taken before we beam it on board.
Dr. Crusher insists upon bringing the Borg aboard to receive medical attention, and Picard hesitates, breathes a nervous breath, and reluctantly agrees. He knows Crusher's request is the right thing to do, and like the song, he doesn't allow himself to look too far ahead, but takes a breath and does the next right thing. Throughout the episode, we see a pensive Picard who seems to be restraining a cold, calculating anger toward the Borg drone. Yet, this is how his fear, his trauma, manifests itself, as anger, as withdrawing from his usual empathetic disposition.
We could introduce an invasive programming sequence through its biochip system, which would infect the entire collective. We could disable their neural network at a stroke.
Picard's crew, however, respond very differently to the Borg. As the Borg spends its first hours disconnected from the hive mind of the collective, a unique individual begins to form.
Okay, now, I'm Beverly.
I'm Geordi. We are Hugh.
Like a lost child seeking connection, Hugh inevitably bonds with Geordi.
Friends? Sure. Someone you can talk to. Who will be with you when you're lonely. Like Geordi. And Hugh.
Like Picard, Guinan has suffered severe trauma at the hands of the Borg. Since her homeworld was decimated by the Borg, she holds an uncharacteristic frustration about Geordi's shifting perspective on Hugh.
It's like he's just some kid who's far away from home.
When that kid's big brothers come looking for him, they're not gonna stop till they find him.
Then why don't you go and talk to him? It might not be so clear-cut then.
Because I wouldn't have anything to say.
Then why don't you just listen? That is what you do best, isn't it?
At this point in the episode, Picard's humanity, his empathy, is remote, withdrawn, so he can protect himself from being vulnerable to the feelings that the Borg inspires. He does not personalize the Borg, nor talks with it. He keeps his focus on how to exploit Hugh as a weapon against the collective. And in this moment, he doesn't surround himself with a good voice. He does not do the next right thing.
We could get to the root command. We could introduce an invasive programming sequence through its biochip system, and then return it to the hive.
Borg are so interconnected, it would act like a virus.
Which would infect the entire collective.
Infected? You make it sound as if it's a disease.
Quite right, Doctor. If all goes well, a terminal one.
Prompted by Geordi's parting challenge, Guinan visits with Hugh, and her perspective on him is transformed. She later visits Picard, hoping that he can convince her that using Hugh as a weapon is actually the moral course of action, is actually the next right thing. Yet, she has to remind him of what is actually right and wrong.
I need to hear you say that you are sure you're doing the right thing.
If you're here to persuade me not to use the invasive program,
No. I think I need you to persuade me. When you talk to him face to face, can you honestly say you don't have any doubt?
I haven't talked to it.
Why not?
I saw no need.
If you're going to use this person...
It's not a person, damn it, it's a Borg!
If you are going to use this person to destroy his race, you should at least look him in the eye once before you do it.
And so, Picard doesn't consider the future. He just does the next right thing. He meets with Hugh, subtly shuddering before he is transported into the ready room. Patrick Stewart's performance adds depth and pain to Picard, revealing how deeply scarred the character truly is.
I am Locutus of Borg.
After assuming the Locutus of Borg persona, Picard pushes Hugh, demanding that he help Picard assimilate the crew, including Hugh's friend, Geordi.
Must Geordi be assimilated?
When Hugh refuses, Picard is shocked to discover how the Borg has grown into an individual.
You are Borg. You will assist us.
I will not.
What did you say?
And in that moment, Picard grows as well. He realizes that the drones within the collective all have the capacity for self. No longer can he protect himself from the very idea of the Borg by using this cold, remote rationality. He thinks as a fuller person, armed with both reason and his characteristic empathy, as he decides how to proceed. And so, he does the next right thing, regardless of his conflicted feelings.
I think that I deliberately avoided meeting with the Borg because I didn't want anything to get in the way of our plan. But now that I have, he seems to be a fully realized individual.
So you've reconsidered the plan?
Yes. To use him in this manner, we'd be no better than the enemy that we seek to destroy. But perhaps, in that short time before they purge his memory, the sense of individuality which he has gained with us might be transmitted through the entire Borg collective. Perhaps that's the most pernicious program of all. The knowledge of self being spread throughout the collective. In that brief moment, might alter them forever.
Later in the series, we find that Hugh's sense of individuality did, in fact, spread through the Borg in his cube, shattering their unity of will into discord, chaos, purposelessness. In this state, Data's brother, Lore, was able to assume control over the Borg, giving them purpose. His purpose. But after Picard and the Enterprise crew join with Hugh to liberate the Borg from Lore's control, Hugh is left to assume leadership of the remaining drones.
What will you do now?
I don't know. We can't go back to the Borg Collective. And we no longer have a leader here.
I'm not sure that's true.
Despite years without contact with the Borg, Picard's assimilation still haunts his dreams. And when a single cube comes barreling at Earth, Picard defies the orders that prevent him from encountering such a triggering situation. The Enterprise crew springs to action, leading a successful offensive against the Borg. Yet, some Borg escape, traveling back in time, and they assimilate Earth, of the past. Protected by the changes in time, Picard vows
Hold your
to
course, Mr. Hawk. I must follow them back. Repair whatever damage they've done.
As Riker leads an away team on 21st century Earth, Picard, Data, and Worf hunt the ship for stowaway drones. In the ensuing fight, Data is abducted, and Picard comes face to face with a brutal assimilation of one of his own crew. In a moment of both parts fear and compassion, Picard fires his phaser, killing the crewman before he was able to be mutilated into a drone. Eventually, the crew realizes that the Borg have assimilated too much of the ship, that they must evacuate and destroy the ship to defeat the Borg. In this moment, Picard's ability to cope with his past trauma is truly tested. He orders his men
Tell
to
your men to stand their ground.
Sir.
Fight hand to hand if they have to.
His crew accept his irrational orders, but not Lily Sloan, who is a 21st century woman from Earth who doesn't revere Picard the same way that his crew does.
It's so simple. The Borg hurt you, and now you're going to hurt them back.
I don't have time for this.
Oh, hey! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! No!
And he piled upon the whale's white hump the sum of all the rage and hate felt by his old race. If his chest had been a cannon, he would have shot his heart upon it. Ahab spent years hunting the white whale that crippled him. But in the end, it destroyed him and his ship.
I guess he didn't know when to quit.
She challenges him, pushes him to think clearly about his motivations.
We assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. I will make them pay for what they've done.
After his outburst of anger, which seems to be one of his primary responses to trauma, he recalls an excerpt from Moby Dick after Lily said,
See you around, Ahab.
And he piled upon the whale's white hump the sum of all the rage and hate felt by his old race.
her allusion to literature shakes him out of his state of fear and anger. He settles into the sensible leader we have come to know. So, does Picard ever fully heal from his traumatic violation by the Borg? It would appear not. But do people ever fully heal from severe loss or cruelty or persistent anxiety and depression? My experience and the story of Picard would suggest that the answer is no. Yet we can learn ways to cope effectively with the effects of trauma. We can become our best selves despite our hurts. In fact, our pain might serve as a catalyst for that better self. As Captain Kirk once said,
"This con man took away my pain. Damn it, Bones, you're a doctor. You know that pain and guilt can't be taken away with the wave of a magic wand. They're the things we carry with us, the things that make us who we are. I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain."
it is pain which can free us from our narrow interior lives and help us empathize with others as they are broken and transformed by trauma. As long as we can take a breath, take a step, make the choice to listen to that voice and the voices around us, we can do the right thing, and we can live with trauma.
Have you ever been a stranger to yourself?
Many, many times.